Hi guys, I'm back and better than ever. I don't know about better than ever, but I am back and I'm better. For those of you who don't know, hi, I'm an addict. I've been an addict for the better part of 3 decades, which is crazy to say. And I just got dumped for not exercising and smoking too much. So I decided I would get into the best shape of my life and make him eat those words. And through the process of getting into shape, I realized that I can't continue to smoke. So I quit smoking, and I'm going to tell you how I quit smoking in this video, what worked and didn't work for me, as well as a little bit of my history as an addict. And so I wanted to give a warning to those of you who may be sensitive about heavier topics. This is your warning, and please feel free to not watch because I don't want to upset you. But so I come from a family of addicts. My grandfathers on both sides were alcoholics, and my paternal grandfather was in AA for about 40 years, and while I grew up, and that was incredibly important to me and life-changing to me. But my mother wasn't an addict, but she believed that addiction is a choice. So she thought that I could just choose whether or not to become an addict, which isn't the case. And so growing up, I was a very sad, lonely child, and I was diagnosed with depression when I was 11 years old and was forced onto medication against my will. Which I hated. It turned me into a zombie. I didn't have any feelings whatsoever. And then when I was 12, 13, I was put on birth control against my will, which also threw my emotions into complete turmoil. So I started therapy around that time too, about grade 4, grade 5, which kind of cemented my distrust for therapists. The therapist that I was seeing was abusing her power, and she really warped my my thoughts on life, to be honest. She made me believe that what was happening to me, I had some responsibility in it, and she also was going through a divorce at the time. Her husband had just left her, and she told me that what was happening to her was worse than what was happening to me, and that I had a choice in what was happening to me where she didn't have a choice, even though what was happening to me was a crime. And as far as I know, your husband leaving you isn't a crime. But she ended up going to trial with another one of her patients, and he won, and she had her license taken away. So then around 14, 15, I started smoking. My brother was, my friends were, I wanted to fit in, not really fit in, but just be with other people. I didn't want to be alone. And then I started using it as a coping mechanism and as an escape from my life. 16, I started drinking. I never really liked drinking, but I did like that it would make me sleep. And then when I was 17, I got introduced to powder, and so that was really when I went downhill with drinking. And with the powder, I would use the stimulants and then need alcohol and smoking as a depressant to make me sleep. So around that time, from 16 to about 26, so about 10 years, I did have a complete death wish. I did not care whether I lived or died, and I was really intent on unaliving myself, which is really sad to say. And so rehab, my first stint in rehab, I had to wait until I turned 18 to go into rehab, so I had to detox at a hospital for a week, and then my 18th birthday I was in rehab, which I got kicked out of. This is also my distrust of institutions. At the time, they were not regulated. I'm not sure what the regulations are now, but men and women were on the same floor, which was a disaster. My roommate, one night while we were sleeping, I woke up to my roommate being assaulted, and I got kicked out 2 days after that. I met another addict who was there by force, and he was 10 years older than me, so I went from rehab to straight living with him, and he was dealing as well as deeply in his addiction, and I became even more addicted to, he had better supply and better contacts. So he ended up going to jail, and I ended up coming back to my hometown, where I got put in rehab for the second time and got kicked out of that, and came out with a pill addiction. I got addicted to oxys. And that was when I was 19, and it was when pharmacies weren't connected. It was just when pharmacies were starting to realize that people were abusing the system, and I was shopping doctors. I was getting as many prescriptions as I wanted, and I went into one of my regular pharmacies, and they called the police. And so that was my third time in rehab, was you're either going to jail or you're going to rehab. So I went to rehab for the third time, and third time's charm, got kicked out again. And around this time I was really getting sick of myself. Everyone was getting sick of me. It was just kind of like, what are you doing? If you're trying to unalive yourself, you're doing a really terrible job. So I decided to move out west when I was 19 to get away from all of my all the friends, all my addict friends, and the triggers where I was raised. So I went out west to, I started as a patient at this, I don't know what they call it. They might call it like a healing institute or a learning institute. I was a patient there, and then after being a patient there for a few months, I started working there, And that's when I met Gaber Mate, who introduced me to the ghost realm and really changed my perspective about addiction. I met Alex Gray. So I spent a week with Gabor. I spent a week with Alex Gray, the artist, who also changed my perspective on relationships. He and his wife are the most dynamic art duo I've ever met. So they really changed my my thoughts on art and relationships. And spent a week with Krishna Das, which really changed my whole thought on prayer and meditation. And I really, really wished that I would have met them before I started my addiction. I don't know if I would have felt as hopeless if I would have met them before. So as I was working there, I met someone who was also working there and fell in love, moved in with each other in a working capacity. Like there was a building where all the people who worked at the Institute would also live, as well as on the island. But if you came from out east, they would have a place for you to live there. So I lived there, and he ended up moving in with me. And I had to come back home for a funeral. One of my friends from high school had ended up passing away. I had to come back for his funeral. And the day after his funeral, my partner called me and told me that while I was there, he had impregnated one of the guests, and she's keeping it, and he moved her into my place. So that was very devastating. And I really gave up hope then, and I had seen my old dealer friend at my friend's funeral, and I hooked up with him again, got his number, and took all the money that I had and gave it to him. And he gave me a nice big pile of drugs, and I took them all on the way home while I was driving, and I overdosed and died. And I woke up in a hospital, strapped to the bed, and the police came in and told me what had happened. And I'm not getting emotional about it now because I actually tried to record this yesterday, and it just turned into me crying for an hour. So I didn't want to get too deep into it. I just wanted to lightly touch on that fact. But yeah, that was the worst part of my life. I've never been more ashamed of myself, more disgusted. That was definitely my rock bottom, and I would like to be able to say that that was the last time that I used, but it definitely wasn't. So this whole time I've been smoking, this whole time. And I'm not talking about cigarettes. I forget if I said that or not. And I thought that I could just keep smoking and that at least it wouldn't kill me. So 2014, I ended up getting a phone call from one of my friends who said that her cousin had a little puppy and he was going to jail and couldn't take care of the puppy, and sent me a picture of this little emaciated dog, and I instantly fell in love. And this dog absolutely changed my life. Like I said, I was a sad, lonely child. I didn't know what the meaning of love was. I didn't know what happiness was. I didn't trust anybody. I don't even trust my mother. I don't trust anybody. But this dog was my absolute happiness. Making him happy just was the most loved I felt, the most happiness I felt, the most joy I felt was taking care of this dog. So when he turned 6, he started having seizures, and 6 months later, he died. And again, some of the hardest times of my life was losing that dog. And I almost lost faith. I really questioned God. I really questioned why. So then I decided that I needed to get healthy. I was really unhealthy. I was really miserable. And after quitting drugs and alcohol, I started a food addiction where I just wanted to numb my feelings, and I just could not stop eating. And like I would just binge eat. I could eat and eat and eat and eat and eat. And I ballooned up to almost 200 pounds, which is the heaviest that I've ever been. And which is why I believe that food addiction is something that we don't talk enough about, and that we don't have enough help for. Because then I started seeing a new doctor and got put on the right meds, and the food addiction stopped. Just like next day stopped. So that's why I believe that addiction is a disease in the mind, and you have to be well enough to choose help. That's why it's not always a choice. And people have cancer and choose not to get help. People have diabetes and choose not to get help. So I'm not sure why. Well, I do know why addicts get the shitty end of the stick when it comes to being treated the same as sick people. But it definitely is a disease. I got put on the right medication, and I lost 60 pounds within like a month. It was insane. And so much so that I was like extremely unhealthy. I didn't have any appetite. So, I was actually, that's when cannabis became legal and a medication that was prescribed. So I was prescribed cannabis for anorexia, even though I wasn't anorexic. The medication that I was on, one of the side effects is also appetite suppression. So I was legally prescribed cannabis and was on that prescription for about 6 months. And to be honest, I don't trust anything from the government, and whatever that wasn't really helping me. And so I went back to illegally purchasing and smoking, and I'm a very heavy smoker. I've always been a very heavy smoker, daily heavy smoker. I had tried to quit a couple times with my doctor's help, but they ended up only ever prescribing me a different medication that had the same addictive properties and probably even worse for me than cannabis in the first place. So that never really helped me until this time. So here we are, caught all up to date. Going through a separation. He told me that he wasn't in love with me anymore, and that I smoke too much, and that I don't exercise. So I'm now on the path of exercising, and I can't smoke while I'm exercising. So I decided I also needed to quit smoking. So what I did that worked for me is call in sick to work for 2 weeks, and I told them that I had pneumonia, so it wasn't like they could be like, oh, do you mind putting in some time today even though you're not feeling well? Like, it was like, I'm not reachable, I'm not contactable, I'm in a hole, don't message me. So I also cut off my my phone for the 2 weeks because I knew that I would not be able to handle that appropriately. My ex, that's really hard saying that. He's blocked me on everything except, and he should, except iMessenger, just for communication for the boys, and I went ahead and abused that, so now he's blocked me on everything. I didn't even think about how I could have blocked my iMessage. But I don't allow myself my phone. I shouldn't have allowed myself my computer, but I did. Only to watch things where I should have just had my TV to watch things. And for those 2 weeks, I treat myself like a complete toddler. Of course, I warned my mom what was happening because I moved in with her since the separation. I had to get rid of all of the money that I had access to, so cleared out everything in my bank accounts, transferred it to my mom as well. I had already set up with my money lady. She has it so when I get paid, it goes to her directly. I never have access to large amounts of money. And if I need money, I need permission 2 days in advance, and I also supply her the receipts, so I have a responsibility of where that money's going to. But I also have to go through the entire house and clear out any money that might have been stuck in coats or anything. I have to get rid of all of the money. I basically lost my appetite, of course, so I was eating really plain things. Cold apple slices really helped me. Watermelon, I got a couple watermelons, that really helped me. Cucumber slices, I really enjoyed. I was eating really plain foods, like Rice Krispies and oat milk for breakfast, salt crackers and buttered pasta was about all that I could eat. I also get myself unlimited cold water, and I bought myself a reward for quitting smoking in the first place, and actually this really helped me, especially with the little mouthpiece. I really liked as something when I was craving smoking just to put in my mouth. And I also got unlimited sugar water. Like, I don't call it juice or energy drinks. It's like vitamin water, the limonade one. I really liked cold, sweet things when I was quitting smoking. I also, I needed Advil, Pepto-Bismol, the chewable Pepto-Bismol, and a non-addictive over-the-counter sleep aid, which really, really helped. I slept most of the 2 weeks, and my body really, really needed it. I made a list of what I would be giving up versus what I would be getting. So I'm giving up smoking, which is amazing. That period is enough. I don't have to smell anymore. I get my sense of smell back, my sense of taste back. I don't have to be embarrassed about, I was always embarrassed. I didn't like other people seeing that I smoked. I didn't want people to judge me because of my smoking, especially my ex-partner is an addict, and I never wanted that to affect him, even though obviously it did. And what I'm getting, obviously the money is huge. I was shocked by how much money I spent on my addiction. So getting that money back is amazing, and I'm giving myself the gift of health. Like, of course it's healthier for me to not smoke. I also am going to reward myself. I'm at almost 3 weeks now, and so at 1 month, I'm going to reward myself with a new phone. I don't buy new phones. I hate buying new electronics unless the last one is like broken and dead and never working again. But I haven't bought myself a new one since 2018, so I'm really looking forward to that reward. And then I'll have another reward for 2 months. I just haven't decided on what it's going to be. So yeah, 3 weeks of quitting smoking. I'm pretty proud of myself. I feel way different. I feel raw. I feel like an uncovered nerve ending. I'm very sensitive. I'm very emotional. I think but they'll just pass. I really want to get back to my relationship with God. I think that will help me a lot and have something positive to focus on. And if I can do it, you definitely can do it, and you should do it. You shouldn't have to rely on smoking or drinking to get you by in life. Sorry, my memory card. I need a new memory card. But I was saying, if I can do it, you definitely can do it. Because I am a... So, if you're smoking and drinking, give yourself the gift of quitting. You will never regret quitting. You'll only regret smoking and drinking. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for listening to me if you made it this far. I'm getting back to exercising now that I can, now that I'm not smoking. So I hope you guys stick around for this journey, and thank you so much. Hope you have a great day. Bye guys.